Welcome to Car and Driver. Here's the new 7th generation Ford Mustang. That's the GT, that's the Dark Horse. In this video, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about them. So I just got a dump of Mustang information this morning. I'm going to do the best job I can to relate to you as accurately and cleanly as possible. There's no big evolution or no big changes, I should say. There's no hybrid, there's no all-wheel drive. It's still going to be available with an EcoBoost 4-cylinder and a V8 with a manual. And as sometimes that shouldn't be like news, but in 2022, it kind of is. You can still get a Mustang GT with a 5-liter V8 and a 6-speed manual. Thank you. And that's actually what we have right here. A couple big differences. Well, you'll notice that one of the biggest differences is the exterior design. It's been changed. Every body panel is new, and I think the look is pretty nice. The front end of the GT has quite a bit of differences than the EcoBoost. From the grills are a bit larger, the vents on the sides are more open, but as we move further down the side, we can talk about wheels. Wheels are going to be available like the normal Mustang variants with 17-inch wheels, 18-inch wheels, 19-inch wheels, and 20-inch wheels. We're looking at a performance pack equipped GT with the 19s. They're a staggered fitment front and rear, and they're on Pirelli P0 tires. Coming a little further back, we can talk about a variety of things. There's a lot to go on with a new generation of the Ford Mustang. The platform underneath is similar to the current generation of Mustang, but with a lot of detail changes, from suspension pickup points to new suspension materials. There's a new steering rack, and so on and so forth. Sizing's going to be very similar. In fact, the wheelbase is the same as the current generation Mustang, but you can see they've done a lot to evolve the design and make it something that looks more modern, from the rear spoiler, and also the Mustang will still be available as a coupe or fastback, however you want to call it, and a convertible. Can't pop the hood on this particular model. It's for display only, but we can talk about engines. The base Mustang is going to have a 2.3 cylinder turbocharged 4-cylinder, what Ford calls the EcoBoost. That's only going to be available with a 10-speed automatic. They've axed the manual from availability based on the fact that so few people were actually ordering a Mustang so equipped. The GT's still going to have a 5-liter V8. It's been upgraded in many ways, including with a new dual throttle body setup. As for horsepower and torque, we don't know yet. Ford hasn't given out specific figures, but has said that the GT will be the most powerful GT ever offered, so that's going to be somewhere north of 470 horsepower. Also, you can get the V8 with a 10-speed automatic and a 6-speed manual. Now, inside this new generation of the Mustang is where the biggest changes are happening. The dash layout has gone from the traditional double bubble setup that you would recognize from any previous generation Mustang to now this very prominent display of these display screens, which we'll talk about in a second, because I first want to talk about this guy. What could you possibly talk about with an e-brake lever? Well, the fact that the Mustang has one, but the way it works is a little different than what you may expect. With the non-performance pack Mustangs, what you get here is a little lever that activates an electronic e-brake like you would expect with any modern car. But when you get a performance pack Mustang, you get this lever, and it's still an electric e-brake. What happens is it's set up to work for drifting. You go into the drive modes, you activate the special setting that they've designed for the Mustang, and this essentially becomes a really easy way to initiate a drift in that mode, of course, on racetracks and all that. Ford's worked with pro drifter Vaughn Gittin Jr. to make this setup work like you would expect for a drift car. It's not a mechanical e-brake. It doesn't have modularity to its adjustment. You can't control the engagement. It's a switch. Like, you pick it up and you're going to be sliding sideways like you would expect in a drift car. And it's pretty nuts that when this car goes on sale, you'll be able to buy it essentially drift ready. That's pretty cool. Let's talk about displays and screens. Actually, first let's talk about the steering wheel, because it's also too different for this new generation. You have fewer controls where your thumbs would sit. They've actually moved some up right here, so you have less of button madness happening that you would get on the current generation of the Ford Mustang. You also have a flat bottom, which can help getting in and out of the car as well. But now we can talk about screens. If you can see right here, you know what that display looks like? It looks like a Fox body Mustang display. And that's some of the magic that you get with these display setups. You have a lot of configuration and customization available to you as the owner or driver to make this look like the way you want. I can go into some of the settings here and adjust the cluster theme and make it seem like it matches the various drive modes on this car, or again, switch it to a Fox body Mustang. That's so cool that you can do that with your new Mustang. That's great. But let's change it back to the setup. Now, a couple things that Ford have done here that I think is really nice is, beyond giving you the adjustability and control to make the gauges appear here how you would like, you also have the ability to bring up like your auxiliary gauges here, so you can monitor additional things if you just want to have less information on here, like your tachometer or your speed or your gear position. A lot of really neat stuff when it comes to the display. There's also been quite a change in the use of materials in this new Mustang, changing everything from the plastics to the leathers and how it's all available. You're gonna have a wide spectrum of customization and availability to you as a new Mustang shopper. But these screens are definitely gonna make a lot of people happy when they buy this car. Cool little Easter egg is that on the back of the 7th generation Mustang, you have the silhouette of all generation Mustang right there. Pretty cool, huh? As we come to the back, let's cover a couple of things that I may have missed. For starters, every Mustang will have a clutch type limited slip differential, though the performance package ones will have a torsion limited slip differential. You also have a variety of drive modes, from street to track to drag use as well, like the current generation Mustang. That includes a line lock and a launch control. There's a bunch more in here that you can find out more by reading the story, but let's go take a look at that Dark Horse. So the Dark Horse, what is it? Well, it appears to me like a handling or track focused version of the Ford Mustang, much like you get with the current Mach 1 with its available track pack and so on. Similar features and options are going to be available with this Dark Horse. And this is also going to introduce a line of racing vehicles from Ford with this kind of look and feel and name associated with it. In fact, customers will be able to buy track-specific, non-road legal race cars with Dark Horse S and Dark Horse R designation. We can get into those later. There'll be more information about those in the story. Now, this itself is, of course, fundamentally based on the Ford Mustang GT, but with a couple changes to make it more appropriate for track use. You can actually see it at the front end where some of the grille openings have been enlarged to allow more air through. The wheels and tires, you can see, are wider, and they'll get wider with the track package, which uses an 11.5-inch wide wheel in the rear and a 10-inch wide wheel in the front. Let's double check those, I could be wrong. Dyslexia, yay. But the tires on the track package are Pirelli Trofeos, which is a serious track tire. The engine itself is a version of the 5-liter V8, but with forged connecting rods, forged pistons, stronger camshafts, and a power rating Ford says will be above 480, so a lot to look forward to there. It also gets can be available with a 10-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual. The manual is a Tremec, which is different than what you get with the standard GT. And overall, this thing just looks the business. I wish we could get inside and pop the hood of it, but I'm happy just seeing it as is. Let's take a look at some of the aerodynamic improvements that you get on the Dark Horse with the track package. A few of the things that at least jump out to me looking at the car that we have here. For example, this larger front splitter than what you get on the GT. It's pronounced a bit more than that one right there. As we move around to the side, you see those big Pirelli Trofeo RS tires on the wider front wheels. But you also see this extension coming off the wheel arch. That's definitely going to give you some aerodynamic benefit at the front. And that's also something you don't get on the GT. For the back, the rear wing may look like what you get on the normal Mustang GT, but as you get closer, you see it also has this gurney flap, and that's going to give you more downforce on track, as you would expect. Now read the accompanying story for vastly more information than what we're able to pack into this video. Otherwise, the 7th generation Ford Mustang goes on sale summer of next year.